Welcome to Elliott's PT podcast. I'm here to help you find your balance and live your best life guilt-free. I don't believe there is a one-size-fits-all approach for health and fitness. We're all different and we need to find out what works for us. I'm passionate about helping people make realistic, long-term lifestyle changes that they will stick to and they will take with them forever. I don't believe in crazy diets or short-term fixes. We all need to live and find a perfect balance in diet and exercise that suits our individual needs. I want to help you find your exercise mojo, feel great and achieve wonderful things. Here is Elliott's PT podcast by Renae Elliott. Hello, and welcome back to Elliott's PT podcast. So today I'm lucky to have Helena with me. It's been a long time actually.
Hello.
We keep meaning to book in times, but where is the time going? But we want to talk about natural movement. It is something that we are both really passionate about, but it's kind of Helena's forte. And we want to talk about why we have included specific classes about natural movement and why we feel that it's something that everybody should be doing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So you can take it off and explain what it is actually.
Okay. So it is the way we're meant to move naturally. So it is what it says on the tin. And if you think about a child, it's the way a child would really instinctively move. So, if you go for a walk with a child, they kind of run forwards. Like, you can't get a child to walk on a straight path. There's no chance, okay? So they're going to run forwards and backwards. If they see anything they can balance on, they're going to go and try and balance on it. They might get down on the ground for a bit. They might try and climb something. Okay, so think about that. Think about the way a child would move. And they're doing that instinctively because this is the way we needed to move to survive. Okay, we're meant to be hunter-gatherers, so we were meant to be out moving around different terrain. Okay, so it's very closely linked to our survival. So we needed to be able to climb things. We needed to be able to move on different surfaces, could be mud, sand, rock, whatever. For some of that time, for example, maybe we needed to crawl because we couldn't walk, something was too steep, or maybe we were down doing something on the ground, picking some leaves or whatever. So it's basically that. And it's really closely linked to our survival, as in putting food in our bellies, but it's also linked to our social survival because it is playful as well. So it could be things like throwing and catching, which they do have kind of uses. Like, you might have been out, I'll chuck me the old bow and arrow, or that's a bit facetious, but it does. They do have practical applications, but also they have applications for play, and we're a social species, so we want to be able to play. So it's not just kind of really serious survival, like stopping me from starving stuff. It's social cooperative stuff as well. So that's what it is. And I think I already said the reason children do it so instinctively is because it's so deeply ingrained in us as human beings that these are the skills you need to survive out there. But obviously we don't need those skills to survive out there anymore. So at some point we stop moving in that way. We've lost it. We lose it. So we sit at our desk and we sit in our car and we push our trolley around the supermarket, and we blow our leaves off the path with a leaf blower, and and all these kind of things. And
we sit down and we just order everything off our phone,
we lose that body-mind connection. And maybe some of us do exercise, but we do it in maybe quite an unnatural way, as in they might be the same kind of repetitive movements over and over again. So you'll adapt to that in a certain way, you'll build strength in a certain way, but you might not have that much adaptability in the way that you move. So I think you can imagine, not to kind of throw shade on anyone, but say you think of guys who lift really heavy. They might be incredibly strong but incredibly immobile. So they might not be able to sit down on the ground, or they might hurt their back trying to put their coat on or whatever. So you are training and you're you're adapting in a certain way, but you are not adaptable. So that's what it is.
I watched an interesting documentary about a bodybuilder, but he was very muscly and whatever. But he his heart was, because he was had too much muscle. His heart was under, so he couldn't run. He couldn't keep up. He couldn't hardly walk. Yeah, because he had too much muscle.
Yeah, just like completely immobilised with it, which is obviously an extreme example. But we're just trying to illustrate that you might consider yourself a fit person because you go to the gym and do certain lifts. But you might not be moving that well naturally. You might not, your balance might not be very good. You might not be able to get down on the ground very easily and get up from the ground and things like that. So our natural movement is really, really closely linked to our survival as a species. But it's also then, because of that, really linked to our sense of well-being and our state of mind. And if we can move more naturally and get better at it, it has really great impacts for our body, because we can, we're more balanced, we're more flexible, we're more mobile, we're stronger, which has a kick-on effect in that we just feel better in our heads.
No injuries.
Our body's doing no injuries, because our body's doing what it's supposed to be doing. And that for human beings, that feels amazing. So
I think it's important to explain how I think it's for aging, how important, like you're saying, like this, a lot of these movements are lost, but I think for aging, the more that people understand, like, can get stronger in these things, like you're working on their, with the closing their eyes, like proprioception, and working on that stuff, because as you get older, we lose that. And I think after the age of 40, our muscles begin to waste away at a rate of 5 to 10%.
Yeah, it's fast.
And then it says by the age of 80, most people typically have about 40% less muscle mass than what they did in their prime. Yeah. So this stuff, I feel it's important to explain how with aging, how much it can benefit people.
Yeah, I mean, it can really benefit you. I mean, it's linked to your longevity and your quality of life, So the physical reason for that is, natural movement, it is about balance, it is about strength, and it's a lot to do with mobility. And I guess mobility kind of combines all of those things. It combines strength, it combines flexibility, and it can combine with balance depending on what you're doing. So although we can kind of train those things separately, I guess the most helpful kind of umbrella term to talk about it with is mobility. So if we can, so a really important marker for longevity is whether somebody can still get up off the floor. Yeah. Okay, and that's one that doctors and medical professionals will use as a kind of marker for somebody's the chances of them living a long life. And that's not because there's some magical connection between being able to get up off the floor and living a long life. It's just because what it says about your lifestyle, so the way you're living and the way you're moving, means that you are probably staying strong and active, so keeping that muscle, keeping that bone, but it also means that you can get yourself out of falls and things like that. So it's about your quality of life, and it's about the length of the life you're going to live. So that's just kind of one marker that we can use. So it's like it's just, so if people can understand what natural movement is, so some of the things natural movement covers, it's things like getting up off the ground is a major one. So getting down onto the ground and getting up off the ground. Being on the ground, so moving around different seated and lying positions on the ground. It's crawling, which everybody loves. It's balancing. It's stepping up onto things and stepping down off things is really important. Lifting and carrying, because we would have had to lift and carry, our food or and our possessions or whatever, or children. Throwing and catching is in there. And jumping and hanging, so hanging off things, because we would have been climbing, jumping, hanging, so that's kind of what we classify as natural movement, which is quite a long list, and people might think, oh my
Yeah.
But when I thought about, I ran a circuit this morning in the park, and I didn't have any intention to make it. I wasn't thinking about natural movement when I designed the circuit. But when I thought about it afterwards, I thought, well, we were crawling, we were running, they were hanging, they were jumping or stepping onto things. They were getting up from the ground, you know, so there was
I
a
always
lot.
think about that stuff.
There was a lot.
Especially
a lot
people
in
complain
there.
about get-ups. I'm like, you want to be able to get up and get down off the
and
ground.
they were crying about the crawling, you know, like they were not amused by that at all. But so that's kind of what it covers. Now, for the vast majority of people, some of those skills are not that relevant to their life or their longevity, but we come back to the getting off the ground and the balance. I would say for the vast majority of people, especially older adults, those are the kind of two really key ones that you want to be hanging on to.
And those things prevent falls, you know, it's like those stuff as you get older. Like my gran is an example I think of all the time, is because she's now so frail and so scared. She's so scared of falling all the time. She shuffles, and because she's scared to move, she's lost so much muscle. She's like down to nothing, you know what I mean? Because she's scared to move, she's scared she's going to fall, she can't walk around the house without a walker now, or without, you know, she wanted to go outside, but there's a step to get down outside and she can't do it on her own. You know, so it's those things that I think if you have an older person in your life, like to look at how they are moving, and
don't make life too easy for yourself. You know, like we just prop ourselves up with so much stuff, don't we, and so much equipment, and it's all to basically mean to make us more sedentary, prevent us from moving naturally. You know, like
I think it's good when you can be like in the, you know, caveman days, whatever, they were strong without having to think about it. They didn't have to lift weights or think about that because they were strong for life. But we have to think about it because of how our lifestyle is. We have to make an effort to include it, because it's just not it's not natural for us anymore,
unfortunately. Know? So that's why there's a whole industry around it now, because we actually have to pay people to teach us how to move naturally and to train us to move naturally. Except obviously you don't have to, because when you understand it a bit, you can actually start to do it a little bit in your real life. But it's just kind of, once you become aware of it and you look for opportunities. So today I went to the supermarket and I did a bit of shopping, and on the way out of the supermarket I carried all my shopping, so I didn't leave it in the trolley, so I carried it and then I balanced along the curb. So just a really simple thing like that, and once you're kind of tuned into it, you can kind of see opportunities for it everywhere, you know. And we can talk about that a bit more.
So how else can people incorporate it into their lives? And I think when you can work out how to, it doesn't feel so overwhelming. Like it doesn't feel like, oh, now I have to do this, or I have to,
So you don't have to do anything extra.
No, you don't have to do anything. As part of your,
So, you know, being down on the ground is one of the, like, let's all do that, you know. So you can just increase your time sitting on the ground. We're both sitting on the ground right now. We're not hypocrites. Although I am leaning on the wall, so I might like try and sit up a bit. So back in the day, the caveman day, I am a historian as well as a PT, people would have rested on the ground. You know, we didn't have chairs and we didn't have big sofas to kind of slump into. So, but for most, and you will see in some cultures, people do still rest on the ground and they eat their food in a deep squat and all that kind of thing, and you're like, wow. So for most people, you know, throwing away their sofa is, you know, and their bed is probably not that appealing, but you can gradually increase your time on the ground. So, you know, can you spend 10 minutes a day watching TV on the ground? Or playing with your children on the ground? And, you know, you will naturally move around on the ground. Like, I've just shifted from sitting cross-legged into a kind of 90-90 position because I needed to move. So it's not kind of about sitting there in a meditative, cross-legged, you know, you might lean on something for a bit. You've just moved. You've just like hugged your knees into your chest. You were like, I need to move. So everybody can find 5 or 10 minutes a day to spend on the ground. So that's a really good example.
Do you think as well, I know a biggest thing as people age is they're getting up and down off a chair without using any,
and don't press down on your legs.
Yes, or the arms, like trying to get up and down shows the strength.
Definitely. And try not to like collapse into your chair, try to control it.
So that's something that you could do every day at work.
Just change the way you sit and stand. Think about engaging the muscles, using no assistance to stand up and controlling it down. And then there are opportunities everywhere. So like taking your washing out of the machine, are you bending over, straight-legged and bending the spine and, hoofing that washing out of the machine? Well, can you go into a deep squat position and pull your washing out of the machine?
I would ask people to look at, kids, like babies, how they squat down, because they haven't got bad habits that, adults have picked up. But you know how they go into that deep squat if they want to pick up anything.
Stay there for ages as well.
And that's what I say to everyone. That's how we should all be squatting.
So like I saw a really cool video the other day. There's this natural movement woman who I really like, and I'll mention some people who are worth following on Instagram and stuff later if you remind me. But she was just showing how, if you're moving your washing from your washer into your dryer in a deep squat, I mean, how much cool movement is going on there? Like you're in a deep squat and you're rotating through the spine and you're lifting a load and you're moving it from one place to the other. So that, again, isn't asking you to do anything differently. No. And then there are opportunities outside. Like if you've got young kids and you go to the park with them, play on the playground. I know. Because they always have things like balance beams and stepping stones, and they always have, things you can climb up onto. And just crawling under things, so get in there, don't stand on the edge with your coffee and your arms folded. Just join in. Just join in and just play around with it, and you will start to see kind of more and more opportunities for it. So that's you can join a class or get a PT who understands natural movement, and that's great, and some people really love that and really want to get into that. But for most people who are like, I just can't do any more in my life, you don't have to.
No, incorporate
you just need to be a bit more mindful about the way you're moving.
Totally. But I think
if people instead of blow, sweep the leaves instead of blowing the leaves, and then get down with your dustpan and brush it into your deep squat and sweep them up.
I'm so glad. My husband used to have an office job, but now he works in retail, and today I went up to him and he had 8, they normally get 4 pallets, right? And they have 8 pallets now. But Lee's not one to exercise, but I'm so glad he has the job he has now, because he has to unload. So he's 8 pallets of alcohol to unload. And he was like, I was like, I can help you for half an hour. But he he has to, they have to move the boxes. So I'm so glad he now has an active job compared to
I think a job on a farm or a job in retail is about as close as most people will get to having a lot of natural movement. If you're dealing with deliveries and stacking shelves and or picking things. But for those of us who are at an office, our bodies are just crying out for this movement.
But what I think to emphasize as well is how important this stuff is for life.
It is.
And I truly believe that if more people became aware of how their body moves, they stretched more, they worked on their balance and their movement, I believe that 90% of injuries would be prevented.
They would.
If people had this understanding of how your body works, and then to go, okay, this is tight in here, let's work on this,
because I think what we tend to do, unless we're very curious adults and unless we kind of have some knowledge of this already, we'll just start avoiding things as they get harder and finding workarounds. So the example I just gave of the washing machine thing, then the flip side of that is I saw this thing again on Instagram or whatever where somebody had like elevated washer and dryer with a slide out shelf underneath. So they put the basket on the slide out shelf, stood up, took the washing out of the thing, slid it across, put it, and that's an example of like ingenuity. That's like, ingenious design that's actually just hurting us, because it's stopping us from doing something.
Lee has a friend that worked in he was in the roofs and so he had his own business, and he had to sell the business because his back was so and I just wish that there was like a standard, or there was like a prerequisite for jobs like that like, because I just felt really sad, because if he'd like did some training, and worked on stretches and strengthening things, that would have probably been prevented. But he had to sell his business, and then he had a back operation, but then he was worse after. But that stuff could have been prevented, and I just feel like
it could have been.
And that just makes me really sad, because that I feel, we have another friend, and he, was kind of through, so I was like, I hope you are like working on, stretching and thinking about, like the movement when you come out of being in that kind of position for a long time during the day. And my dad, he climbed through roofs and all that, and his ankles and whatever else are buggered. So I just feel, it just makes me feel sad, and I just feel like if people had more of an understanding,
people understand how their bodies work and what their bodies need, and it's not their fault because we're not taught it. But
it's all taken for granted when you're younger.
It is, And if you think that we're designed to move all day, then your body, it's designed to not give up on you, but you've just got to move it in the right way and strengthen it in the right way.
So why we have this as part of our classes that you can take part of. So why did we make it part of our classes?
Because we're passionate about it, and we just think, I truly think it's the future of the fitness industry, truly, I think when I kind of got switched onto it, I think I was getting a bit disillusioned about the way we train. I was kind of thinking, this is mad, we sit down at desks all day and then we go to some crazy like air-conditioned box and do like crazy excises that aren't necessarily like flinging our bodies around in a way that's not necessarily healthy for our bodies. And when somebody I knew kind of introduced me to natural movement, it was like a light went on in my brain, and I just thought, this is what we should be doing, and this is what I want to teach other people to do, because it just I feel like this is saving lives. I feel like this is saving and giving longevity and saving lives, where quality of life,
yes, other stuff, but what I guess our biggest kind of stumbling block is people don't see the value.
Always.
The people that do the classes love it, and they've already, like, how exciting is it to see people that have been able to, get up and down off the ground without using their hands.
It's such a buzz for them.
They can see that, they can see the benefits in their other life, but you get those other people that like, I just have to lift heavy weights and slam
and sweat. I mean, natural movement will make you sweat, but it's just a slow kind of drip education, isn't it? But if I think of the people, because I've given a really clear example of how, without really thinking about it, I had a lot of natural movement in a circuit this morning, and you always do as well, even if you don't think about it, you do.
I always try to plan for that type of stuff,
But I think, but we do have a kind of class that's more dedicated to it, and it's not 100% natural movement, because we do some kind of more specific mobility type training, which is going to help us with our natural movement. Because in an ideal world, we wouldn't need that, because we'd just be moving well all the time, but actually dysfunction creeps into the body. So we need to do some kind of specific mobility stuff to kind of get us ready for that. And the people who come to that regularly, they've, it's made other areas of their lives better, and that includes the gym, but it includes the rest of their life.
And that's, I think, trying to get a certain type of person that only thinks about they've got to lift heavier, and that's necessarily better. But when you have that, even the people that like don't stretch and leave. Like it's like
I'll
no.
fetch it home.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, I'm sure you will.
Yeah. Because what natural movement is about, it's not about seeing the body in separate parts. So I'm working my arms, I'm working my legs, I'm working my core. It's like all of the body in all its different parts has quality movement holistically. And then we protect ourselves against injury, and we're stronger, and we're more flexible, and we're more adaptable.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. That's what it's about. Because you might be able to squat with 200 kilos on your back, but you might not be able to squat down and get your washing out of the washing machine or whatever. So. Or
even I shudder when you see some people and you're like, yep, you might have a big heavy weight on your back, but you're not getting very low, or
exactly. So a really nice example I heard somebody say of what difference it had made to their life training in that way was that it was a grandmother, and she was saying that when her grandchildren were over, she could pick her way through all the mess in the lounge room. So they've left all their toys everywhere. So that was really frightening for her, because she felt like she was going to trip over something, and she felt really unsteady. But she said when she realised it was really working for her was when she could navigate that messy room, so weaving around things and stepping over things without feeling scared and without feeling unbalanced. So it's things like that kind of are like the little golden nuggets of of what you're of what you're kind of seeing. Like I say, like the quality of life for people, that it can really...
that's massive. It's massive.
It is massive. And somebody else was talking about being able to get out of the bath.
Yeah.
And that's another big one, I mean, that takes a lot of strength and mobility.
But people take, like, people our age or younger, or take it all for granted.
Yeah.
Because that they, and I also hear, as I'm about to turn 40, people are going, oh, now once you turn 40, all of these things are going to go wrong for you. And I'm like, no, I don't think so. No. And that's not something that I accept either.
That's not happening.
No, but I think as well, it's taking charge of your health.
Don't think that that's inevitable, because it's not, No, goodness me, it's not. We've got some 70-plus-year-olds here who can, put me to shame.
Put a lot of people to shame, definitely.
With the way that they move, and they're not even people who've necessarily trained all their lives.
No.
So it's you don't need to lose this stuff. It doesn't need to be an inevitability.
And it's also never too late to start.
It is. No, it's never too late to start.
No. Like it's never ever too late to start. Where people, I had someone today just this morning say, oh, I'm too old, and I'm like, no, you're not. You're never too old to start. Just start.
That's just a mindset, and it's not, there's not that much basis in the reality of the situation and what's possible.
So to finish off, what would you like to say about anyone who's curious about it, anyone who has doubts?
I'll share some things that you can look at. Because obviously, if you're an Elliott's PT member, you come talk to one of us, and I hope you've got a few hours free in your calendar, because we can't half go on.
But if people have questions, they can message us.
Yeah, of course they
Love
can. And if you kind of want to, just find out a little bit more and see some examples of what it is, I'll share with you some good stuff that you can look at. So, Idanthro. So let me spell it. Idanthro. So this is a natural movement gym in Brisbane. I used to work there. It's and Jack Mullally, who's the owner, he's the MoveNat trainer for Australia now. Like I said, there's a whole industry around this, and there's a certification which is called MoveNat, and Jack is now the MoveNat trainer for Australia, and he's fantastic, and he shares really great and really accessible content on Instagram. And if you live in Brisbane, go and train with him. If you live on the Sunshine Coast, come and train with us. Another one I really like is Reclaim Movement, and she's a middle-aged MoveNat coach, and she's come to natural movement later in life, and again shares really accessible content. It's no crazy show-off stuff. You know, she's the one who shared the washing machine thing. So she gives really good examples of just how to do it in your everyday life. And then MoveNat itself is good to look at, but it's very technical and kind of highfalutin. But if you just want to kind of go down a YouTube wormhole and just watch people do amazing things and like jumping from one cliff to another, which is not what we do here. But it is quite inspiring, you know. So that's MOVNAT, MoveNat. So they've got,
we'll put the links in the notes.
So check it out. Talk to me, talk to Renae, and get involved. Start. I think you can hear our passion for it, you know. So maybe we've enthused you. I just think you can take charge.
You can take charge, and it doesn't have to be. You know, like I get annoyed sometimes with my husband. That he's like, "Oh, I can't get on the ground." I'm like, "Yes, you can."
Yeah.
Like,
here, I'll push you over.
But it annoys me because, like, come on, like. This doesn't have to be your life.
Doesn't. But and are you going to live the rest of your life?
If you can choose for that to be your life, but like you can also choose for it to be very different. And for me, I want the better quality of life. I don't want to be not being able to get around or scared to move or.
You'd be amazed how quickly you can make progress in it. So we've recently had a guy join the gym he's 78. And I've got him getting up off the ground.
I know, so
in 8 weeks, and he was just laughing at me when I told him that's what he had to do. He's a very funny guy, and he was just looking at me and shaking his head and laughing, and he can do it. So that's, and we
in such a short space.
It's a really short space of time. So like, don't feel like, oh, this is a 5-year project, because this is what your body wants to do. So once you show it how to do it, your body will just come to life. So really. Oh, and also what we should mention is do it barefoot.
Oh, I know. I was meant to say that before. Today I made someone take their shoes off because they had shoes with a thick sole, and I said to her, "You got a sore knee?" She's like, "Yeah, my knee." And I could tell straight away from her movement. She took her shoes off, and she's like, "Oh," and I was like, "Always have your shoes off.
Always have your shoes off. We can see you rocking around on top of those big bumps on your feet."
Doing. Someone else, they bought the barefoot shoes, and she loves them now. And she's like, "I won't wear anything else." I told you.
You won't.
You won't.
They're
the best.
It's an important part of it, and there's a whole other podcast on
I know. I've done one, but we should do one. All right, we'll love everyone and leave them. And
go out and move.
Yes.
Sit down on the ground first.
Get up again.
Get up. See ya.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Elliott's PT podcast. I hope you have been able to find this information of use to you. If you know someone who might enjoy this podcast, please share it with them and ensure that you subscribe so you can be the first to know when new podcasts are released. If you have the time to leave a 5-star review, that would be amazing and it would be greatly appreciated. If you do so, please screenshot and share onto any of our socials and tag us. Then email the screenshot to hello@elliott'spt.com and we will send you a free gift to your inbox. Thanks so much. Have an amazing day. Speak soon.